And you're always kind of chasing what data needs to get in front of the individuals that need to make decisions and trying to anticipate what information they actually need before maybe they even know it for themselves.
Yep. You identify the challenge. We need data maybe is the challenge. Then you have to refine your data and what you're doing. It's like step one is capturing it.
Step one, know how to collect the data, know how to have that information because you need the historical data in order to be able to analyze it. You know, there comes time when you're managing individuals when you know what they're capable of before they even know what they're capable of. They can't yet, or they haven't yet figured out how to do it. The path sometimes getting there, once you're there, you see the A to the B, but you have to have that growth mindset.
Welcome to the Paradigm Industry Insiders podcast, where real people share real stories about what's happening with doors, windows, millwork, and life. I'm John Wheeler, and along with my co-hosts, we sit down with your peers who are moving our industry forward. These are honest conversations packed with practical insights and lessons you can take and bring value to your team. Here's today's conversation. Welcome to the Paradigm Industry Insiders podcast, where we tell the stories of the people, the technology, and the products of the door and window industry. My name is John Wheeler. I'm joined today by Shelly Johnson from Sierra Pacific. Shelly, you want to introduce yourself?
I am Shelly Johnson. I am the Window Technology Manager at Sierra Pacific Industries.
Starting off with a little bit of history of Sierra Pacific. I think you've been around there for a while. I think you know the history, but for anybody that doesn't know, that you're not just a door, it's not just doors and windows, right? There's forestry and there's all sorts of things. Talk about the history of Sierra Pacific.
It's such a large history. It's hard to just know where to start with talking about the company. I'm very proud to be employed by Sierra Pacific, fourth generation, family-owned business. They truly are a vertically integrated company, seed to window, and just absolutely everything in between, just stewards of our land and just planting trees for future generations. It's just an amazing company.
And they reuse, because you're cutting wood and you're milling down the things and you reuse. Talk about some of the stuff that they reuse the sawdust for.
Oh my goodness.
Powers the plant and things like that.
So I was about 2 years into being an employee, and I got to take one of these wonderful Sawmill tours by the IT manager at the time. And
the IT manager did this?
Yes, and he was an amazing tour guide, and kudos to him. It really locked me in. It really did. We got to see just a cogen plant, and wow, if you ever wanted to know anything about fibers and beyond what you actually want to know about wood, I mean, there's just pride in every one of those employees. Just from the seeing these big cranes that are just taking these huge loads of logs and dropping them down, and then taking that log and how they use, they maximize, they scan the log, they are looking at how to cut that log in the most efficient fashion, and then just to think about, just that one little piece of the puzzle there in my little tour to Sawmill. They take that and just everything down to the sawdust and reuse that for energy and, actually create more energy than they use, and then can produce that back. And it's just the consciousness of every business decision and how to utilize everything is just so impressive to me.
Interesting, because there's two locations. One of them is in the middle of nowhere in Wisconsin, and the other one's in the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere in Wisconsin.
Just kidding. Northern Wisconsin, and then way northern California.
Yes.
Because I'm in Sacramento, and you're still 3 hours north of where I'm at.
Correct.
Out there. And I feel like, part of that probably comes from, that's the way that they've always done it. When you're that far from anything, you have to reuse everything. And then the respect for the planet and things like that, that's probably where a lot of that comes from. There are, Sierra Pacific's been a customer of ours for a long time. You told me an interesting story a while ago about the beginnings of Paradigm. And I try to tell the stories and, with Lynn Hartle and all of that, but your perspective was way cooler than mine. Tell me about
Oh my
that.
goodness. Yeah, it actually was my first job out of school.
Really?
Yes. So first job out of school, you always think you know everything when, like,
Yep.
oh yeah, I know everything about
know that
software, I
feeling.
know everything about PC, technician. And and we were looking for a new configurator, and here was this engineer that was going to come in and show us a product. And this was going to be in this new window configuration configurator. And he was a person from the industry, just saw the need. And so here we're sitting down after this huge sales training meeting, and we're looking at this demo, and it's literally Excel spreadsheets. It really is. It was
The start of anything good.
Yeah, well, kind of. I mean, like anybody that likes data likes Excel spreadsheets and the
Exactly right.
spreadsheeting. I'm jived by all my family members about, no, Shelly probably has a spreadsheet on that. We literally saw the concept of Paradigm on these spreadsheets, and just the concept of choosing options and everything. And I'm really kind of new to just all the window jargon. Just to think of that, and now flash forward how many years, and being here at the Paradigm Conference, and
20,
you can do this math.
more than 20. How about that?
Yeah, it's more than 20. It's more than 20. But it's almost whenever every year I've come at least in the last 4 years, it's so nostalgic to come and be part of this and see how it's grown from that to what it is now, and to be still a part of the evolution of it, right? And just to see it keep growing, and it's just as exciting as it was back then, because back then kind of was Y2K time. Right? So we're all like flying all over doing accounting patches, anybody that was in the IT world back then. And now we're looking at AI and the explosion of that next technology and the exciting things. And yeah, it's exciting.
And I know, I was talking with Dana just a little bit ago, your Dana.
Yeah.
And I know you just hired a guy to do data stuff.
Yes.
Talk about like when you realize that this AI thing or data science or whatever that is, like I'm assuming that falls under your role. Like, how did you know that that's the path you needed?
Well, some of it falls in your lap a little bit, right? The economy changing, the need for different types of data, and you're always kind of chasing what data needs to get in front of the individuals that need to make decisions, and trying to anticipate what information they actually need before maybe they even know it for themselves. Because sometimes it's a two-way street, right?
It's a killer way to think about it.
Yeah, it is a two-way street, because you have either I know they could probably use this, or I need to unlock this because this is going to help them figure out how to analyze this cost better. But you have to have the data. So you have to figure out how to collect the data. Step one, know how to collect the data, know how to, have that information, because you need the historical data in order to be able to analyze it.
Yep. It's
just, trying to be ahead of that game and finding, individuals that can provide that need. I think some of the AI is kind of fallen in our lap, right? And we're trying to figure out how to utilize it, how to maximize it. I think we're very smart as a company to try to get somebody who's a little bit more in touch with how to start collecting that data. We have somebody in place to help us start seeing that picture on the back end side of things, to be able to say, how do I need to start capturing this data? Here's what you need to do as programmers to start getting it to us that way, and then you can start the work of what do you do then with what you were capturing.
Now you can start to now you can start to solve challenges and things, because that's what you identify the challenge, and it's like, we need data maybe is the challenge, but then you have to refine your data and what you're doing, and it's like step one is capturing it, because if you're not capturing it, or you're going to find gaps in things like, okay, now we got to add, this button for people to click or whatever it is. Thinking about it, like putting myself in your shoes and knowing the expanse of Sierra Pacific. It's like it makes my head spin. That just all the data points, because you got the customers and you have all of the sales and quoting and all of that stuff, but then you have like the forest that I ride my dirt bikes through, and you have the lumbers, and then you have the doors, you have the windows, and there's glass, and there's grids, and all this stuff. How do you manage to keep all of that? Like, how do you keep? Would imagine leadership has a focus on something, but you need to solve all these challenges and provide the data, but you can't just try to solve 4,000 things at the same time. Like, how'd you pick where to start?
Well, I am very fortunate that I am just Windows division.
Oh, perfect.
Yes. So
that makes me feel a lot better.
Filter that down just a tad. And we have an immense IT staff that it has, area specific specialties. So that is very helpful.
Yeah.
That it is
right
not in
team.
everything. It's just too wide of a footprint to be able to do that. So we do have this gentleman that is on the AI side that is going to be helping us format over industry. And then eventually we'll have another individual that'll be over Windows division. Sierra Pacific prides themselves in being very homegrown. We are, they love to do things from the ground up. They do not shy away from a challenge, and they will, do it themselves, even if it's a little bit of a harder path, but for the pride of it and to just know that it's done right. We could have gone down a different path. But I think the realization that the partnership we already had with Paradigm was, it was really something to grow, and so I think that the decision to use and continue to grow with Paradigm and become cloud-based became kind of a no-brainer when they took into consideration that kind of concept, the best business practice. We want to be the easiest to do business with.
Yep.
And we knew that was the path to go cloud-based and continue to grow, to make a product that was going to be easier for us to grow our sales and be easier to do business with.
Yeah. And then because you don't just it's not just like dealer direct, you have retail locations and you have places like that. So you have all these different customer avenues, and it's cool that you're taking, how do we be the easiest for each one of these business segments, for each one of the customers in there to do business with. So I think, one of the things I wanted to talk about you're the leader of the team, right? How do you, when you see the potential in somebody or know that they could be doing more, helping them kind of get out of their own way. You told me once, it's replacing I can't with I can't yet. You want to add in the yet at the end.
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about that.
There comes time when you're managing individuals when you know they can. They have it in them. You know what they're capable of before they even know what they're capable of. And I feel very fortunate that Sierra Pacific has, given me this team of individuals. I have an amazing group of developers. Sometimes I feel like, a person doesn't realize they need to get past themselves. It kind of goes back to that conversation we were talking a little bit about musicians and getting out of your head. They need to get out of their head and be like, okay, they just need to see that they can't yet, or they haven't yet figured out how to do it. But it's still there. And one of the things that I know when I'm chatting with my group, I know that it's Jeremy Bearimy. Sometimes I know that the path, sometimes getting there, once you're there, you see the A to the B, but it's just giving a little grace to know that you have the threshold to get there, but you have to say to yourself, you have to have that growth mindset that you're just not there. You just don't know how to do it yet, but you're going to figure it out. And you have to tell yourself you're going to figure it out instead of letting yourself get just stuck. I can't, or I'm just waiting for you. No, you don't just wait. What don't you know? Who do you need to ask to get there? And, just unlock your own path, right? A little bit. And
it's a lot of trust, especially as the leader. You trust in them, you have full faith, but they also have to trust themselves and you that if they make a mistake, it's totally fine. They have to be kind of comfortable learning on fire. I feel like it's the only way to get it.
Yeah. And in the way that, tech and just the industry is going so fast and you're trying to keep up with everything, you have to allow yourself that. Yeah.
Yep. One of the things, we've talked a few times, and one of the things that you told me, one of the phrases was, everything's changing. You talked about that before, but if you're running from a bear and you stop, you die. Talk about that as it relates to business. Because if you slow down, there's other people that make windows just like you do. Talk about that philosophy.
So, that was a good one. I'm good for one-liners, and then let's go back and analyze that. Right? We're in IT. Mm-hmm. We're in the window and door manufacturing business. It's ever evolving, and if you don't keep going and keep trying and doing better and providing different tools, and you're going to be eaten by the bear.
Yeah, 100%.
So sometimes it's just in that trial, in just the sheer just kind of keep moving, that you get projects done, that you're leading through example, and that
you learn things the hard way. It's the only way to learn anything.
Absolutely.
It's at least my personal choice for learning things is just the absolute hardest way possible. I think we'll end with, you've been doing music for a long time, and I think it was, later in life you're doing the band thing, and it wasn't until later in life that you started doing that. So talk a little bit about how does that bleed into your professional life at Sierra Pacific, just kind of doing the darn thing.
Yeah, I've got to a point in my life where I just, I stopped thinking about trying to be confident, trying to not be nervous. I kind of use the phrase, I got in my head. Mm-hmm. You get in your head about something where you're thinking so much about it that you're not enjoying it, or you're not really living it and making it happen. And I think that that's one thing at this point in my career, and especially in music, is that I just feel like I'm enjoying it. I've always wanted to do it to bring people joy. Mm-hmm. You're not always ever going to be everyone's cup of tea, but that's not what you're trying to do either. Right. You're trying to share something that somehow is really naturally in you.
Sierra Pacific has a really long, complex history, and you've been there for a really long time. It seems like you're really bought into the whole process from the early days until now, and it's really exciting. Tell me about what your favorite part or your favorite parts are from working there.
Well, I think that it's the components of just there's technical aspects of music that fill this little part of your brain that's just very satisfying. And that's people that are like geeking out on data, or, looking at metrics on something, and they're just, it satisfies that. But there's the part of this free, like unexplained artistic part of performing that I feel connects with the feeling that you have when you connect with your team. Mm-hmm. There's a satisfaction with feeling like I delivered this. And there's a satisfaction with that with your team when, as a group, it's just like in a band. Like as a group, you've collectively delivered something that's been received, and it's something that each one of you have this special part in it. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like that I think that if you're really starting to think about it, you can see the connections there with them both.
You're the singer in the band. What instrument do you play at Sierra Pacific?
Oh, that is a great question. I would say that if I was if this was like a high school band, mm-hmm. I'd be the cheerleader. I'd be the baton person in the front, just wanting that group to just keep rocking, But I still know stuff. Simmons. I'm not just the person on the outside. I still know how to do all the things. But
leading the way.
But I want to lead the way and be part of it.
And keep it all in time too. All in rhythm. I didn't know that's what that person's doing.
Yes. There's a lot more to that position than you think.
I had no idea until just recently that was what they were doing.
Yeah.
I thought they were just out there just speed walking or something. I don't know what it was. This was a lot of fun. I feel like we had a good time, and I appreciate you being on.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us on the Paradigm Industry Insiders podcast. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platforms and follow Paradigm on LinkedIn and YouTube to catch more stories, insights, and ideas from your peers across our industry. See y'all.